So recently I was brought in by my friend to do lighting on this pretty small production. And when you're doing lighting on a small production with a small budget, a minimal crew, and also a lot to get done in a pretty short time, it can be really challenging to create effective and beautiful lighting. But I do want to show you what I came up with and what I did to be able to create nice lighting while working with the limitations. I'm sure you'll find some of this helpful. So in this first setup, we were shooting indoors and there was one subject that we had to light, and basically everything needed to look like a nice, cozy evening at this person's home. It didn't have to look anything crazy, just simple, soft lighting that would flatter the subject and would light up the room in a nice, warm light. So in the past, I would pretty much just take a softbox and just have it like 45 degrees angled on the subject, kind of like what I have going on in this setup. But when you try to apply a setup like this to an actual scene where we can see a lot of the room and it has to look natural, you quickly realize that this is not going to work because it's just too much of a small source. So what I chose to do instead, which is also very simple, but just takes a little bit more work, but looks 100 times better. So what I did is I chose to go with an 8x8 full grid cloth to make a big source of light that would just wash up the entire space and just give it very soft light, again, from a big source, which looks a lot better. Now, usually when you set up an 8x8, you set it up on a metal frame, but because I was alone and because of the time constraints, I couldn't really do that. So instead, what I did is much simpler. I just set up the grid cloth between two C-stands. I just tied it up to the stands, and I also used some clamps. I decided to bounce the light off of a 4x4 white bounce material into the diffusion, and then we get the light bouncing, then diffusing, and that makes for a very soft light. So again, I have the 600D going into the 4x4 white bounce, and then that is bouncing back into the 8x8 full grid cloth, which creates a very nice flattering light. And because we wanted the light to be nice and warm and cozy, we added a CTO gel to the 600D, so now we have nice warm light. Then using a floppy, I just flagged the sides of the light so we don't get a lot of spill just bouncing all around the room, so that way we get more control over the light and we have a bit of a separation between our subject, which is fully lit, and the background, which is just a bit darker. And if we wanted to make it even darker, the background, we could have added more flags and just added more control. But for this scene, I didn't really need to do much else, and also there wasn't really enough time. So this was just a quick and easy way to get really nice soft lighting that you can't really go wrong with. We also had a few shots outside, and for there wasn't too much that I could do, especially on wide shots. So when we had more of a medium or close-up shots, I tried to do the best that I can to help shape the natural light. I'm using bounce and negative field and some diffusion. So in this shot right here, which was a pretty critical shot in the sequence, and it was just close enough so I could pull up the diffusion and just use that to diffuse the sun. And we had to make sure that we don't catch the shadow that the diffusion is creating. And that only works because this shot is pretty close. If we wanted to be farther away, we would probably see the shadow because the diffusion is pretty small. And obviously, if we had more time, if we had a bigger team, you would set up like really big diffusion frames outside. But that was not the case. So I was just trying to do my best where I can, which is mostly where we had more close-up shots. Then we had some indoor night shots, and for these I mainly used the MT Pro by Aperture. It's a small tube light, which is very portable and very easy to use, very handy, as well as the Amaran 150C, which is full RGB. So you can see in this example, all I'm doing for this key light, this is, by the way, supposed to be like middle of the night. So I have the MT Pro really close to her face, just off to the camera left. I'm pretty sure I also had the grid on there just so I have more control. And in the background we have this practical light, which helps create depth and color contrast. Then I also used the Amaran 150C just to give the whole scene this moonlight effect. Then in this shot, the director wanted something a bit more green, something that feels a bit unpleasant. So I just quickly switched colors on the 150C, and that was really easy. Then we placed this practical light on the background there just to give us some edge light on her face and just to create some color contrast again. And that's the flexibility you get with RGB lights. And this scene is again the empty Pro, just quickly grabbing it, lighting her face, and the 150C is on the background there. I used the spotlight mount to create these shafts of light, just to create a little bit of texture and some interest. And I used the 150C with the spotlight mount again in this shot, just to create these warm shafts of light to add more interest to an otherwise pretty boring shot. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you'd rather see more videos, like more frequently, but maybe they'll be about like smaller productions, more like realistic things, I guess, and not only the big productions like the nice music videos, or just more regular like day-to-day kind of stuff. So let me know if you do want to see more of these. But thank you for watching. Make sure you follow me at yuval_a96 on Instagram if you want to see what I'm up to, if you want to send me a message and just talk a bit. It's at yuval_a96. But that's all for today. Thank you for watching again, and hopefully I'm going to see all of you in the next one.